How's it going, everyone? My name is Nick Simi. Thank you for checking out this video. I'm here in my home gym. I call it the sweatshop. I know one thing for sure is I'm ready to get back into the gym, to have actual equipment, have weights and whatnot. And I'm sure you are too. Hopefully everyone's staying safe, everyone's staying healthy, and that we're on the tail end of this quarantine. So a big question that I've been getting recently is, Nick, how do I get better at the 40-yard dash? How do I set up? How do I train for it? So I've decided that I'm going to put together a little video series and break down the 40-yard dash into, 3 phases. It could be broken up into more. I want to say a disclaimer first. I'm not going to say or claim that I know everything, but I hope I can provide as much value to you guys as possible. So with the first video, I'm going to show you guys the start or the setup. Second video will be more top end mechanics after you get out of the actual start. And then the third video is I'm going to give you guys some actual tangible exercises, things that you can do in the weight room, things you can even do at home in order to increase your speed and in order to drop your 40-yard dash time. Stay tuned. So the reason why I wanted to dedicate an entire video to the start is that a lot of athletes can trim down their 40-yard dash time with just tweaking their start alone. And so it might be some minor changes to what you already have been doing, but they make a big difference down the road and will eventually cut, hopefully a few tenths of a seconds off of your 40. So to start up, I get the question, Nick, which foot do I start up with? Which hand do I start up with, etc. So a little thing that you can do, I really recommend to all athletes to try both the right leg and the left leg to start, and really when you're training to mix it up, because you don't want to become dominant with just starting your right leg up every time or just starting your left leg. You want to kind of intermix it a little bit to have each side equalized during your movements. So to start, we've had a little trick that we did at Ohio State. Some people might have already heard it. You have, a training buddy behind you, a friend. They give you a little push in the back. Let's say, for instance, someone pushed me. Whatever foot that I stepped out with to catch myself, they say that you can use that to start up with in the 40. So if you have no idea, that is one trick to use. If not, you can always try it with both and then see what feels most comfortable to you. So to start, a big thing is you want to keep your shoulders, your hips, and your feet, everything's facing forward. That will make sure you're using all of your movement in the most efficient way possible. So to start with, from the ground up, your feet are going to be hip width apart. So if you start going wider than your hips, you start going shoulder width, and hopefully you wouldn't go any farther than that. If I drew a line up from my ankles, my knees, and coming into my hips, you would kind of see it's making a V. So, where I'm directing my force from the ground up isn't necessarily all going one way, and it's not going, forward, because I'm going to have to take a false step or I'm going to have to take a step to the side, etc. So a big thing is hip width apart, everything's facing forward, first thing you got to know. Next is, once you know which foot to start up with, you're going to slide that foot back. So another thing too is, Nick, can I take the entire line? Do I have to start behind the line? Where do I start? So if you're starting at the goal line, you're going to stand with your toes all the way up on the white where it's almost touching the green part. So you're not necessarily going to be standing closer to the end zone side. You're going to be starting up closer to the, the 1-yard line per se. But it's really all the way up, taking up the entire goal line. So you're going to slide that first foot back. And then to know if you've gone far enough back, the front of your foot or your toes are going to be in line with the instep or the about half of your foot that has not moved. So from the start here, you're going to slide it back. Toes are going to be in line with the instep of the foot that has not moved. Next is moving the foot on the left side for me. You're going to drop it straight back. You want to make sure this is also back in a straight line. I also see some kids or some athletes, they'll drop it back and they'll be a coach, I'm ready to go. Well, if you watch my hips are not facing forward, and obviously my feet aren't in a straight line. They might be stacked, but my first step is not going to be forward. It's going to be out to the side. So that's why I always say your feet, your hips, and your shoulders, everything has to stay forward. Because even though your toes can stay forward, your hips might not be facing the same way too. So back from the top again. I apologize if I'm reiterating a lot of this, but I think it's important for you guys to know and for you guys to be able to break down maybe you're training with your buddy, etc. So First foot back, toes in line with the instep of the foot that has not moved. Dropping the, for me, left foot straight back. Next, when you drop your knee down that you just moved, that's going to be about half of the foot, or half of your front foot. So like I said, like when you take the first step back, your toes are going to be in line with the inside of that instep of your left foot. For this, you're going to be about the same. So your knee is going to be in the middle or half the foot. If you start dropping your foot back farther, or your knee back farther, you're not going to be able to distribute the weight properly. And even though you might be loading the front leg more, you're not going to be able to get nearly as much weight on the back foot, and it's really an explosion off two and not off one. So it's from the top, one last time. Foot back, toe is in line with the instep. Drop left, straight back. Drop the knee down. Here is the general start with my feet. Next is what hand do I start up with? So ultimately, whatever foot or leg you start up with, so for me it's the right foot, I'd have my left hand down, so it's opposite. So when you go into load your stance, you're gonna walk your hands out and then act like a coil. You're gonna load and walk your hands back, but you're really loading your feet as well. So you're walking your hands out here and you're slowly coiling back. So I'm loading my hips, I'm loading my quads, my hamstrings, and you're almost gonna feel like you're gonna fall forward. It's very uncomfortable if you're doing it right. You shouldn't be holding yourself very far back, because if it's comfortable, then it's probably, you have some room to tweak it just a little bit. So walk your hands out. I'm loading my hips, my hamstrings, my quads here, and I'm putting my hand all the way up at the top from where I originally started, here. And then my offhand is coming up, and I'm ducking my head. So that is the general start. I'll also show it to the side to also help too. Another note is that when you get in your stance, so here, hands down, and I'm up, chin is tucked. I have about 60% of the weight on my right leg, or my front leg for me, 40% on my back. So like I said, it's explosion off two legs, 60-40. You don't want all the weight on the front leg and no weight on the back, and I'll show you why from the side as well. Another thing too, my chin and my chest are gonna be on, or if not a little over the line. So like I said, I'll show you guys from the side. If you guys are holding yourself too far back, you guys are gonna have to rock forward, and then you're gonna have to explode out. You want all that weight, you're really trying to, you're not necessarily cheating it, but you're really trying to take as much of the line and as much of that space as possible, because ultimately that just leads to more time if you're wasting time and wasting your movement. So here, and get set. Two more things. Your shin angle is going to be something big that I'll show from the side. I just want to note it now. And then the last thing is that they're starting the timer, the coach or recruiter or whoever, with the first movement that they see. So it's not necessarily when you first cross the line or when you first take your first step. They might even be watching your offhand. So for instance, I might not be getting in the perfect stance, just to show you. If I'm like this, and I go like this, and I just wiggle that hand, or I have to lift my chest up and drive out, they're starting on the first movement that they see. So it's not necessarily something that is always dictated by when you first take a step, or when you're actually firing out. They're really watching for anything. So you want to make sure that you hold yourself in that stance, give yourself about a 1/1000 of a count, and then it's an explosion off 2 feet all at once, because any wasted movement is just going to lead to an increased time. So I'll show you guys the setup from the side view. To give you guys a video of the setup from the side view, and it's really important. I mentioned it before. If you're training with another teammate or a friend, etc., they can take a look at your form and even their form with these different views, so you can compare with this video, and really give you guys an opportunity to coach each other along the way. So I'm not going to necessarily break down every single step like I did from the front, but I just want to show you guys how it looks and then maybe go into maybe 1 or 2 additional details that I couldn't fully elaborate on, you know, with the full view. So I'm just going to drop this down here for a second. All right. Let's see, perfect. So everything's facing forward, straight ahead. I'm going to get set up here. Here's where I'm really walking it back. I'm not just trying to walk myself up. I'm trying to walk myself back and down at like a 45-degree angle, because that's really how I'm going to project myself out when I accelerate at the start. So here. So as you can see, with my shin, the shin angle is going to be very important, because that's going to predict the angle that I'm coming out of my stance at. So as you could see, if, you know, not necessarily, you're not trying to drive your knee all the way down towards the ground. You're not going to exaggerate it that much. About 45 degrees is something to shoot for. And, you know, those will be some drills that I give you in the exercise video that will help you get into this stance. But if you have a higher shin angle or a more vertical shin angle, I'm going to show you guys how that might alter your 40 and increase your time. So if I'm walking it back, you know, coach, you know, I'm ready to go. So the first thing that I have to do, or I see, is when I'm here, I'm going to have to lean forward, create that 45-degree angle, because I wasn't starting in that. Rock forward. The time has already started, let me remind you. So time's already started because you've already been moving, and then you're shooting out. So you've already lost that time. You've already lost that time, and you're not going to be able to perform at your best with that in mind. So I'm getting my stance here, here, start, hand high. So offhand is by your hip. When you're exploding out, like I said, 60% of your weight on the front leg, 40% on the back. Next thing is the arm drive. Arm drive, and really the separation of your arms is huge. So like I said, I'll break down some exercises and some drills that you can do in another video. But one thing that they tell you is they tell you to block the sun. So the offhand here is going to block the sun here, and the hand that's down is going to shoot back. You're really trying to create a separation with the hand that's down and the offhand. So that's got to create separation initially, and then you kind of fire the pistons of your feet and fire your arms faster, and that's going to create even more acceleration coming out. If you short your arms, you're not going to, one, create that separation, and you're not going to be able to create that torque coming out with your arms and hopefully propel you even faster. So here, coming down, offhand down, here, boom. I know I'm not the fastest. I know, there's probably a better example of that separation, but you'll see that if you watch elite sprinters, they're not only focused on what they're doing with their feet, but they're also trying to drive and separate with the arms. So that's the side video. Hopefully that provides you guys with some value. And like I said, I'll be breaking down another video for the top end mechanics, and then some exercises in terms of how to get, maybe the shin angle and maybe even faster with the top end. So stay tuned. Thanks again for tuning into the channel and watching this video, a part of the 40-Yard Dash series. Make sure to comment, like, subscribe, follow me on social media, and let me know what you guys want to see next. Stay safe, stay healthy, and look forward to talking to you guys soon.